Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wicked Weekly. My name's Brian if you happen to be new around here, and today I have some huge news. This has been something we've been waiting for, and it does change our timelines in a very positive way, and that is classes are incoming, and they're incoming sooner than we expect. Should be dropping on the PTR fairly quickly, and quickly is a relative term. We'll talk about it. I'll give you guys my updated estimates as a developer myself, and we're going to have a lot of fun in this video. So if you guys enjoy No Rest for the Wicked content, first and foremost, thank you so much for giving this video an opportunity. We've got a lot to talk about. Thomas is sharing some really cool screenshots. This UI update does tell us that this is happening much sooner, and we're going to again dive into our timelines and more. But let's kick it over to Thomas, who writes, yep, we're already well underway to implementing the class system for these reasons. He's replying to someone asking about, are we going to see the new combat system? Are we going to see the class system? How does that all work? Because from a milestone, what has been shared in terms of the roadmap is we know that there's the Sacrament, update the follow co-op, and he also gives an update on co-op, by the way. And then you have the Combat 2.0 system, which I have been estimating as that's really where we're going to see the bulk of classes. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see some classes sooner, and that's essentially what he goes on to kind of continue on. So let's let him continue. He says, it just makes everything clear and gives a bit more of a guided experience if you want that. If not, though, you can still go haywire and do whatever you want. But ultimately, this is a system that's going to give us way more cool features to build our class with what goes beyond just give your character 5% more health, unlock second tier of the weapons, etc., etc. And the nice thing is that these players will now be aware of which playstyles exist in Wicked already and what they need to find to unlock those and how those classes are authored yet by us. So you can either go with those or you can just mix and match and do your own thing. So we'll be putting this on the PTR pretty soon, and we'll tweak it from there until it is just clear that this should go live. So timeline wise, PTR is a huge plus. Now, not everybody obviously has access to it. PTR generally means public test realm, not necessarily so public, maybe a private test realm, friends and family, things like that. We know a lot of people in the Discord are participating in it and testing out the co-op right now. I am not included in that, but we'll see if that changes with time. But this, I think, is really exciting that they're going to be testing that out, iterating on that, and getting it ready. Now, this still means that the timeline for you and I and everybody to be able to go hands-on with it would be around the Combat 2.0 milestone update. However, there could be an argument to be made here that a lot of this stuff kind of gets in a little bit earlier so that we can all kind of test and provide feedback, meaning classes get added over time, and eventually when 1.0 launches, their target is 40 different classes based off of the weapon archetypes. It's quite substantial, and at the end of the day, I'm really looking forward to it. He's talked about his love of Final Fantasy Tactics. For those of you who haven't seen those videos, they're here on the channel. If you want, you can go check those out in the channel page or wherever below. Now, Thomas continues on the Discord to give us a lot of updates, and he says, this is really what we're thinking about the Compendium. It's a huge list of what you'll find in the Scholars and Sacrament Library will reward you if you bring them enough info on them. He goes into a lot of detail here, and I'm just going to cycle through it. You can see how it structures itself, how it looks. You have a bunch of different categories, various different subcategories within each category, and you can kind of easily start to make out what each and everything ends up being. There's also, again, a bestiary here, but he does not go to highlight that, but he goes as far as showing off items, locations, characters, and obviously the lore tab as well. This is going to give a lot more ability to kind of highlight a lot of different and interesting things, especially when it comes to like, hey, what has happened? You want to go rewatch a specific cutscene? Bada bing, bada boom. This has you covered. Now, before Thomas goes on to share really what we're all excited about with the class system, he has a few more updates about other systems that are coming soon to the game. He says, folks, another thing we finally might implement very soon is the Scribe table. The whole blueprints, recipe stuff, it's all very RNG now, and it's a bunch of stuff that is on vendors now. But my thinking is that this should be a lot cleaner and a lot clearer. If we have just the Scribe table where you can see the various different items that you can spend resources to research anything you want, then you don't have to play for 150 hours anymore just to find the blueprints for the various different beds, etc. Going on to say that it's still going to take an ass ton of time to fully master every class, and just the idea when he said ass ton, I was like, crap ton is usually what I'm referred. Maybe that's a cultural difference. I've never heard of ass ton before, so this was news to me. Let me know if it was news to you. at the end of the day, made me laugh. Anyway, let's continue. He goes on to say research every item, etc., but at least you'll have an alternative way than is other than fully random. And this is something that I advocate for because I love RNG progression as long as it's married to some form of static progression. RNG progression can end up being that, that pinata moment, that you win kind of moment, which can be exhilarating, but that should be more the rare thing that happens for you winning. Generally speaking, you should be always making that kind of progress of whatever you're chasing, and that should be very static. It should be very understood, clearly defined, even if it ends up being a huge grind, like run 1,000 dungeons. Okay, cool. At least I know what's required of me to get the thing that I'm after, and then you hopefully have something that you're chasing that is obviously well worth the time that you spend on whatever grind that you're chasing specifically. But now let's dive into what really got me excited to make this video. Thomas writes, here's an early mock-up of the classes screen that will replace the attribute screen. So instead of putting a few points into this or that attribute, you'll instead look into these various classes and gain class points to earn various character traits. And those then you can then equip on your character in order to build whatever class you want. Let's reiterate that, to build whatever class you want. So this isn't removing builds. This is essentially giving us a lot more tools in the belt to create even more exciting builds. And that is something I think we can all be really excited about. But he continues, obviously we have a lot more power than something like this because it's just not numbers go up. We're going to allow you to unlock entire features. For example, assassins could have a trait that makes you harder to see when you're in stealth mode, etc. And it should make leveling a lot more satisfying that you can be guided if you want to do that. As in, if you're hellbent on playing an assassin, you don't need to look up a wiki which attributes you need to level for that. But you can just look into the assassin's class and try to master all the items and the traits, and there you should be good to go. Now keep in mind, this was just a mock-up, so the portraits and some designs of this layout are so on and still obviously will change. But ultimately, I think this solves the issues that we have with the attribute system. Instead of building a strength plus faith character, we'll make it simple just to say that you are now building a knight. And when you can immediately see how the designers laid out the knight, which weapons and that are assigned to that class and which character traits are assigned to that class, etc. So it should be a lot more straightforward for newcomers while also giving players who already played a lot more power over their builds, since they could literally match whatever they want without having to respec and rebuild their entire character's build. And if we just go and do a deep dive, zoom and enhance on these 4 images. Again, development images, this can all change. You can see here he's highlighting several different classes, and over here on the left hand side you can see the various different traits. You can see your current class, and I think this means you can also easily change your class whenever you need. Obviously, if you look, you can see a couple other classes here at the bottom, but let's look at them. You got the heretic, you got the oracle, you got the priest, you got the mage, you got the sorcerer, you got the mystic, you got the spell warden, you got the plague doctor, you got the necromancer, something he's talked and teased about for a while, and you've got the witch. And so here it just at its core, you've got 10 different classes. Again, they're working to get up to 40 different classes, which is truly insane. Tip of the hat, Moon Studios. You guys are both amazing, and I'm glad I don't work there. I'm just going to say that because that seems like a ton of work. But he goes on to share some even more. So you can start to see how you can unlock your various different codex. You can see all of these different things. Like it just looks so freaking cool. And obviously placeholder, trait description, etc. with a video of what it means is there. And then you can see other things like the class weapons, what you can kind of pick and choose, the various different traits, your different runes that are a part of the different weapons, and so on. And then finally, you can also look at various other class weapons that they have. So they're just highlighting it with the videos. So these are some really cool mock-ups. And again, this stuff is going to change, but this has me so excited because this is moving us in that right direction. So when we start to talk about timelines, this is Brian putting on his developer hat, by the way, is that whenever devs, like I really wish, especially as gamers, we easily better comprehend the amount of time and investment it takes to get these things into reality. So when they're starting to show off screenshots, even if they're mocked up in placeholder screenshots, that is a far jump from the design. And Thomas shared this with me on the interview that we had. And it's, yeah, like he was saying, it's actually much closer than we think now that they're sharing screenshots. So timeline wise, it could mean that while the co-op update's next, and we know that's coming and they're working on that full steam ahead, but there are other sectors of the team that are working on things, we could start to see after the co-op update that milestone, or a new roadmap kind of produced for us to give us a little bit more insight into all of this. And I think that's going to kind of highlight what to expect in Sacrament and what to expect in Combat 2.0. I could see that if a lot of the work has been done and he really wants to get a lot of feedback and generate some excitement, this might be something they start to pair and bring in around the Sacrament update. Not as a complete, all the jobs are there, because again, putting out 40 jobs, it just seems like it's the perfect opportunity to be like, hey, new job systems in place. And I use the job system as the term. We're going to roll it out and continue to add on to these things with these various different updates, eventually getting to the point where we have the full list of classes available to you. Who knows? I could be wrong. They might just go and rip off the Band-Aid and say, here they all are. And that would be also very exciting too. But obviously when that does happen, and if that does happen at that speed, I would expect some kind of some adjustments, right? So hopefully you don't fall in love with a specific class right out the gate, because there might be some changes as they kind of iterate on this process. Now, before we jump into our message of hope, Jonathan actually writes, he says, wait, so we can switch classes on the go? If so, that's an insane amount of content. Man, I want to max out every class. Holy hell, this is going to be so much fun instead of just being locked to one class at one time. I'm going to have the freedom to do all of this. Like today, I want to play as a sorcerer, and maybe tomorrow I want to switch things up and play as a paladin, and soon that would be sick. I would extend No Rest for the Wicked so many hours of playtime. That's crazy fun. Thomas replies to him saying that's exactly the idea. You'll be able to unlock and try everything out, but mastering all the classes is going to take a lot of amount of time. Now, another question that was asked by Tibbs, he says, will Moon Studios be at Gamescom? And Thomas says, no, we're busy testing co-op. Priorities, priorities, priorities. This is so exciting. I have continued to estimate right now, co-op is maybe roughly 6 to 8 weeks. That's what I'm kind of giving them. It could obviously stretch a little bit longer. Nothing officially has been announced, but based off the words, based off of how quiet it's been, it's always kind of a key sign. When the devs kind of get quiet, usually that means they're hyper-focused and fixated on making sure either bugs or things are all being developed. And then they come back, take a breath, share with us. And that's actually a kind of a beautiful thing. So there is an ebb and flow. And that's usually where, the joke is the show's called The Wicked Weekly. You might get one a week. You might get 5 a week. You never really know. It really depends on what is sharing. And as we get more specific and official news, of course, I'll be breaking it down for you guys here as well. So thank you so much for spending time. Now, I would like to pivot to our message of hope for those of you who are brand new. This is something I've had a lot of different struggles. I have seasonal depression. That's something that sucks for anybody, my fellow strugglers out there. And I like to take this time to really kind of talk to you guys one-on-one about what's going on. Today's update is actually kind of a health and weight loss update. So positive and negative all in all. Now, for those of you who've been following the content, been hanging out on the streams, etc., just note, we've been in a little bit of a chaotic summer, been out of the house for quite a bit. We had to do some work. That kind of led to a lot of eating out. So downside was after the summer, I ended up gaining 20 pounds. Now, when I say I gained 20 pounds, all in all, over the last 2 years, I have lost 80 pounds. So now that is to 60. I'm fully well committed to get back down and continuing my weight loss journey. Shooting for 210 pounds is the goal. So we're making progress. The other good news is my blood sugar has continued to fall a little bit, which is great. I'm now getting further and further every time they test it, away from that pre-diabetic state that I was in. So health-wise, things are going in the right direction. But one of the things that really kind of stood out to me, because I was beating myself up, it feels like I failed to a degree when I say I gained some weight. It's really refreshing. My nose is itching. That's a great content. It was really refreshing because a part of my plan, and it is why you also don't see a lot of content from me recently, is during my lunch breaks, absolutely committed, basically in a way of suffering, to go to the gym. Now, a big part of my weight loss journey is going to be food. It's also on the things you got to fight for. I go to a doctor, get tested, have them test everything about you if you can. And that way, if nothing else, you're not working against yourself. That's a long story. I've shared it before. We can go into it probably in future updates. But I went, and one of the things that I hate is the sauna. I don't know why. It just is it feels like 20 minutes of torture. But I end every workout. So I go kick my butt for 40 minutes, end my workout with 20 minutes in the sauna. And then, so I go in the other day, and a couple guys were there. And one of the guys looks at me. He's like, dude, I want to tell you this. Like, I've seen you come to the gym for the last 2 years and you look incredible. And I was like, wow. Flattery will get you everywhere, mister. And what he was going on to say, because it was a good reminder that, like, even though I have had a slight setback with my weight, and I have gained a little weight over the summer, part of that was to be expected. But no matter what, there's a level of like, come on, Brian, let's keep going. And it was a little bit embarrassing because it's like I'm public about my journey, my progress. But it was a really good reminder of how far I've come. And while the nice thing is that I've already re-geared and I've already lost some of the weight that I've gained since I went in and kind of did my yearly physical and stuff like that. It was just a really good reminder. Like, I have come a long way. And so if you're out there struggling, if you're out there having any kind of setback, hey, you're not alone, man. And whether that's with weight loss or with anything in life, just note that you are not alone. And honestly, the world is better for having you in it. And don't listen to any voices that are telling you otherwise, any kind of negative, dark thoughts. And if you are having extreme dark thoughts, please reach out to a friend, to a professional. All of these things are, these are signs of strength. None of this is a sign of weakness. So anyway, I just want to tell you, I love you very much. I know each and every one of you kind of are having your own life experiences. And if you hung out for this and this was something good for you, good. That's the whole point of all of this. But as we wrap up, I didn't do any call of action in this video. I kind of figured I'd start to save it to the end for those of you guys who are really kind of here. And it really means a lot to me that you gave this video the watch time that it is. And I was gonna say, like, right now, subscriptions are down. We've lost 38 subscribers over the last month. That's to be expected. These are just kind of the ebbs and flows of the channel. I do take a lot of pride in actually losing subscribers because I honestly feel like if I was playing a game, then I could, the rules of the game just always kind of be plugged into the zeitgeist, what everybody's excited about. But this allows me to sit down and focus in on what I'm really passionate about. So thank you guys again for being here and for that support. If you are saying, Brian, I'm already subscribed, how can I support you more for free? Check out the Gaming Roundtable. The third link in the description should actually get you over there. We were only down 19 subscribers over the last month, but we've been rebranding the podcast. And I really do. It's a great way to support the content for free because it gives us another, metric to measure off of. So whether you're new or you're returning, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you have a most excellent day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care.
They said, boy, she's done, but I just smiled instead, 'cause this world keeps on